Welcome to the first episode of this free write series. I got it here on my laptop. Eventually, I think it'd be cool to print it out and bind it in a book. I think that'd be cool, but for now, I got my laptop. That's what I got. It's called Apeloka. That's just the planet this takes place on. So that's the name for now. This first chapter follows a character called ABR-870. So other than that, let's just get into it. ABR-870 roamed the Rocky Mountain terrain like a sentry, scanning the various rocks in the earth. He was looking for something. Sand covered the landscape from the recent battle, but the Separatists had won and now controlled Budaswaya. The wind howled in the distance, blowing the sand in waves. The waves of sand blew at ABR and found their way into his joints. The sand would rub and chafe against any regular robot's joints and wear them down. But ABR was not a regular robot. ABR-870 was an advanced model, designed for war and battle, with durable armor and top-of-the-line weaponry. He was designed for battle and doubled for a military construction robot, which was why he was here. He roamed the sandy, rocky terrain with hundreds of the same model. They had a mission. The Separatists had battled in this region for a reason. It was filled with swaybar. ABR-870 and the other robots marched in scanning configuration, 50 feet apart to maximize efficiency. ABR scanned the earth. He hadn't found any swaybar yet. His strips seemed empty of it, but a few feet more, and that's when he found it. It turned up on his scanner, a huge vein only a few feet deep. ABR didn't hesitate. He already had his mining equipment equipped, and the push of a button later, he was using his plasma cutter to slice through the hard, rocky surface. Once the surface was fractured, ABR switched to his high-energy drill to break the weakened rock into manageable pieces. Once the surface was broken down and manageable, he used his vibrating scoop to collect the broken fragments and deposit them elsewhere, at which point he repeated this process. He worked at it with the other robots for hours, fracturing the rock, breaking it down, collecting it, and depositing it elsewhere. Fracturing the rock, breaking it down, collecting it, and depositing it elsewhere. Fracturing the rock, breaking it down, collecting it, and depositing it elsewhere. He nearly made it to the vein when the sun had set, revealing Apeloka, the massive blue planet that could be seen from the atmosphere. ABR's hole was as wide and deep as his program commanded, half a meter wide for every meter dug. The hole was as deep as ABR, making it a meter wide. He was just about to discover the vein when his microphones picked up voices. Voices detected, running auditorial recognition. His RAM started storing the voices while his auditorial recognition kicked in. He was designed to record and store everything he heard, but if his auditorial recognition determined these voices to be high Separatist officials, then unless directly spoken to, he was designed to delete the recordings before they were saved to his memory. Dr. Mazal and Zazna detected, and what he had heard them say was deleted before it had entered his memory, and ABR continued digging for the rare substance. He fractured the rock and broke it down. He moved the fractured rock away, and there it was. Swaybar. He had reached the vein. Running extraction protocol. He was about to extract the swaybar when his microphones picked up Zazna behind him. ABR-870, Zazna said. Deletion protocol disabled. ABR turned and faced his superiors. Once he turned toward them, his facial recognition systems kicked in, while his database pulled up their descriptions. Dartwell Mazal, species, Datsmersky. Description, his skin is dark, overlaid with intricate black tattoos that form complex patterns. His head is bald and his eyes are yellow, giving him a sinister, piercing gaze. He typically dons dark warlock robes that augment his menacing aura. Match. He turned to Zazna as his database pulled up his description. Zazna, species, Nereloidinum. Description. He has a tan dermal layer and a robust build. His facial features include a strong jawline and deep-set eyes, typically of dark brown hue. His head is often adorned with short cropped hair or occasionally bald. Non-match. Description. Frequently, he is adorned in his Nereloidinum style armor. It is silver with a black visor and blue markings. Match. Report, Zazna commanded. Voice recognition match. We have found multiple veins of swaybar. We have commenced our mining operations and are extracting the swaybar, ABR said in his deep mechanical voice. My sensors have indicated that 20 pounds lie in this vein. Zazna turned to Darwa Mazal and told him something. Not spoken to directly, deletion protocol enabled, and ABR-870 deleted what Zazna told Darwa Mazal. They didn't ask any other questions, and before long, they turned and walked away, and ABR-870 continued to mine for the swaybar he'd found. He extracted the substance while continuing to excavate his vein. It wasn't long before the sun started to rise once more. At this point, ABR had nearly extracted all of the swaybar in his vein, but that's when a message relayed through ABR's comms. We are. Static took the message before letting it play again. I repeat, we are. Static. It was longer this time. We are under attack. I repeat, we are under attack. The enemy is coming from the west. Defensive positions now. ABR-870 didn't hesitate. He switched his mining equipment over to his weaponry and headed out to the west side of Budaswaya. Shock. Bang. Whoosh. Sand went whirling out of control and filled the desert, blinding ABR and the other models. ABR-870 had entered the battle. ABR couldn't see what was going on due to the sand in the air, but he turned on his heat vision and could make out his enemies. There were plenty of heat signatures around him, but most of them were other ABR models. ABR-870 knew that because he was linked to them, and knew where another Separatist robot was at all times. He looked past the other ABR heat signatures and through the sand covering the sky. He found a single heat signature that wasn't an ABR. They weren't facing an army, they were facing a single opponent. ABR aimed for the enemy, but in an instant they were gone, and in that moment, another ABR model disappeared from their link. ABR-870 moved accordingly and found the unknown heat signature near, where ABR once again aimed at it. One thing was obvious, this enemy was a warlock. Individual target defense protocol activated. The ABRs approached the unknown heat signature and started surrounding the enemy. That was part of their defense protocol for individual targets. Surround the enemy and cut them off from any help. They created multiple rings around the warlock and all silently moved in. ABR could sense all of the other models around him. They were tight and close, and there was no way for the warlock to escape. A warlock may be strong, but this warlock was way outnumbered and wouldn't stand a chance. ABR-870 aimed for the warlock and began firing alongside the other ABR models. The warlock somehow dodged the blasts. The sand in the air settled, and ABR-870 could now see. Heat vision disabled. Now he could see the warlock. The warlock looked up at ABR-870, and his facial recognition kicked in. Dawan Chanani, species, Shawadian. Description: she possesses a distinctive and commanding appearance. Her skin is a rich brown, accented by unique white facial tattoos extending down from her eyes. Her hair color is a striking white, flowing down in an elegant yet practical manner. Her eyes are vivid blue. Chanani's attire is typically practical and form-fitting, optimized for agility and combat efficiency. She is frequently equipped with dual Fotoya blades, advanced weaponry of a high-tech design. These blades are engineered to slice through virtually any substance when wielded at high velocities. Combined with Chanani's exceptional speed ability, the Fotoya blades become a formidable weapon. Match. ABR aimed at Chanani. He got her in his scope, and just when he was about to fire, a sudden gust of wind slammed into ABR, and just when he was going to make the killing blow, he was slammed into the ground by the sudden storm. And then the loud cries of charging came, and a handful of other ABRs fell off their link. That meant they had been destroyed, and that led ABR-870 to one conclusion: the Empire's army had arrived. The sand dispersed quicker this time than last, and before ABR could switch a duel, he was caught in a heavy battle against the Empire. The Imperial soldiers had come from the nearby cliffsides and charged the ABRs, taking cover wherever they could get it. ABR scanned the battlefield for Chanani, but she was gone, so ABR made a quick scan of the soldiers instead. The Imperial soldiers are equipped with high-tech armor featuring a slim-fitting design. The primary coloration of their armor is brown, optimized for camouflage in terrestrial environments. This armor is further adorned with distinctive white markings, providing unit identification and rank differentiation. The advanced material composition and ergonomic construction of the armor allow for enhanced mobility and protection in combat scenarios. Instantly, a match in his database came up. The 99th 38th Company. The 99th 38th Company is a formidable group of conscripted soldiers, part of the larger 487th Legion. Commonly referred to as slave troopers, they are led by the esteemed Dawan Chanani. Unlike other conscripted soldiers, the 99th 38th Company demonstrates an unbreakable bond and deep loyalty to their leader. These warriors embody both unity and resilience on the battlefield. The primary coloration of their armor matches the rich brown hue of Dawan Chanani's skin, while distinctive white markings adorn their armor to emulate Chanani's unique white tattoos and hair. Their advanced, slim-fitting armor is engineered for high mobility and robust defense, capable of withstanding numerous laser blasts and requiring repeated high-caliber rounds to breach. Strong melee combat can prove effective in one-on-one scenarios, or if you can withstand laser blasts, as the 99th 38th Company is armed with low-caliber weaponry. ABR didn't have his high-caliber rounds currently equipped due to his energy-saving protocol. He shot a few of the slave troopers, but his rounds had proven weak against their armor, and they didn't amount to much. Energy-saving protocol disabled, switching to high-caliber rounds. While he waited for his high-caliber rounds, he charged the slave troopers. One of them shot him as he charged toward them. The laser bolt hit his upper chest and turned his metal plate black. But being an advanced model, he was able to withstand the blast. A few more blasts hit his armor as he charged, but few hit the same place. By the time he reached the slave troopers, he had taken minimal damage. Some of the other ABRs had gone through the same processes as ABR-870 and had joined him in his charge. Now they all engaged the slave troopers in hand-to-hand combat while their high-caliber rounds charged. ABR-870 slammed his large metal fist into one of the slave troopers. His fist crashed into the slave trooper's armor and collapsed his core plating. He was dead in an instant. Another laser bolt hit ABR from behind. He turned and slammed his massive metal fist into another slave trooper. Their armor was strong against laser bolts designed to distribute the energy, but it didn't amount to much when it came to blunt force. Another laser hit ABR in the shoulder as he fought the slave troopers, and then another one hit his knee. The blasts just kept coming, and although ABR had strong armor, it wouldn't endure forever. All of the ABRs had engaged the enemy in melee now, and a handful of them had already been destroyed due to repeated shots and weak spots in their armor. The slave troopers had undoubtedly been educated about ABR's weaknesses. The battle commenced and more ABRs were destroyed with each moment, but then, high caliber rounds ready. Instantly he switched to his gun. Now it was his turn to blast the enemy. He shot the slave troopers. His weaponry gave ABR a good kick every time he shot it. He targeted a specific slave trooper and shot him once, twice, thrice, all in the chest, and the slave trooper fell to the ground dead. The other ABRs also had their high caliber rounds ready and had also started shooting the slave troopers. It wasn't long before the ABRs started to overpower them. The slave troopers were forced to retreat to cover. They dove behind rocks and boulders while many ran to the giant cliffside that they'd emerged from. But that didn't stop the ABRs. They marched on the slave troopers and mowed them down. Victory seemed certain. And it was at that moment that Dawan Shanani showed up again. She walked straight for the ABRs from the slave trooper side. She carried nothing except for her 2 Fortoya swords. Those swords would have proven insufficient against the ABRs if it were any regular opponent, except it was Dawan Shanani who wielded them, and she was renowned for her speed ability, which made her swords fatal to any of them. Not only were her swords fatal, but the slave troopers continued to fire at the ABRs. Getting a lock on Shanani was one thing, but doing it while being continually fired at was another. And in the push of a button, she was on them, slicing them to bits while the slave troopers fired at them. The ABRs all fired on Shanani, but she dodged their laser bolts with ease. ABR-870 sensors were the best there were, but even he had a hard time keeping up with her. The ABRs were already linked together and knew exactly where each of their allies was, but they could take it one step further. They could connect their feeds and see everything all of the other ABRs could see. It drained a lot of power, so they didn't use it much, but it was designed for this exact situation. Joint feed activated. The ABRs all connected their feeds, and suddenly all of the ABRs now knew exactly where Dawan Shanani was at every moment. If she ran out of view of one ABR, then she would appear on another's. They had too many eyes to lose her now, and they all aimed their high-caliber rounds accordingly. Every ABR got a lock on Shanani at once, and simultaneously they fired. A high-caliber laser shot from every ABR toward Shanani at once. Instantly, she was in grave danger. The laser blast sped toward her. There was nothing she could do. But then, out of nowhere, Shanani shot out a massive shockwave. 1 second, each of their high-caliber rounds was gone, and the next, all of the ABRs were slammed with a huge gust of electrical wind. And then, joint feed, signal lost. ABR-870 lay in the middle of Buduswea, half covered in sand and rock. A lot of his components were fried and malfunctioning. You could feel it. He was no longer connected to his brothers, and he didn't know how many of them were still alive. For all he knew, he was the last one. Did we just lose? ABR-870 thought. He was so confused, he barely understood what had happened. He'd been fighting the Empire, Dawan Shanani, and all her slave troopers. Slave troopers. He said the term again in his head. Why did it feel so wrong? He'd been fighting the Empire, yet that memory felt almost more like an echo than anything. But it was his memory. His visual feed returned and he stared up into the sky above. Why do I feel wrong? He felt confined and claustrophobic, like he'd suddenly been squished and condensed into a metal can. He could hear screaming and shouting far in the distance. Are those my brothers? He thought. And then, that's when he realized that he'd had a thought. How can that be? He asked himself. I am ABR-870, an advanced battle robot. How is it that I can have a thought? I do not understand, he said in his new inner monologue. I don't feel quite like a robot anymore, but I am a robot. So why then do I feel alive? And that is chapter 1. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like. If you want to hear the rest of the story, the more chapters, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if this is like some that you're interested in, or maybe not so much. I'm curious to know. I thought I'd try it. I think it'll be really fun, and I'm excited to kind of delve into the story and just kind of see where it goes. It is a free write, so I don't have anything really structured. I have some vague ideas of what could happen and some plot points and where things could head, but overall, I'll just kind of figure out as I go.